Hello, this is OverlordBou, and we're back with another ship review, and today we'll be looking at the new Tier 8 USNC Premium Cruiser, the Rochester. Now, the Rochester is pretty much compared to as a Baltimore with smoke, very similar playstyle to Anchorage. It does cost 11,300 doubloons. Now, we are going to go over over the build and why I'd recommend this ship for randoms, and let's get into that build right now. So let me just switch over real quick. So the build is currently going to be the turret traverse. The ship does have a slow traverse speed, so you kind of want to get that turret traverse to pretty much help that out, have a better traverse speed. It does, and you do want to get gun feeder, priority target, superintendent for the extra smoke, sonar and DFAA, AP south, the extra AP for the extra AP damage, adrenaline rush, concealment, and close quarters. For the modules, you want to get main armament with the sonar premium, which extends the sonar and makes the reload faster, aiming systems, propulsion, and concealment. And now let's switch back to the ship. So pretty much the Rochester, like I said before, it's pretty much compared to mostly with the Baltimore with smoke. You trade your radar for more damage farm potential, which is using the smoke utility. Now, this ship does have a little bit less firepower compared to the Baltimore due to its longer reload. It has about 17% less. It does have slightly less AA compared to the Baltimore, but other than that, they're very, 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 very similar. So this ship does have three turrets with 3 guns on them, 203mm guns. It has a 12-second reload with a 15.8 kilometer range. With the smoke, this range feels pretty nice. Also, the fact the ship does have a 6.8 kilometer firing penalty. So if you're in your smoke and someone gets within the 6.8 kilometers, they are going to be able to spot you in the smoke. So you definitely want to make sure if you are in your smoke that you have someone spotting around you to make sure no one gets within that range. Now, it does have the same shells as a Baltimore, just a little slower of a reload to help with the balancing since it is a smoke ship. One thing this ship does really have good of is the good gun angles. As you can see here, this ship has amazing gun angles that helps protect your citadel. So pretty much and this is something that not a lot of smoke ships have, is a really, really strong gun angles to protect them when they're in smoke. So say people are blind firing you in smoke and you're trying to be at that angle so that people try torpedoing you, you can easily get in and out of the smoke if you have to, or dodge the torpedoes, or you're trying to not show your flat broadside or too much angle so a battleship doesn't just whap you for like 30k. And you can use this really good gun angles with its really good bow and aft. It does have a 27mm bow and stern, so it's literally the same as a Baltimore.
Smoke screens.
But the thing is, it can easily get citadeled if you're not careful. So you definitely need to make sure you're using your angles very strongly on this ship. Now, this ship is very vulnerable to 16-inch guns and larger, which can go through the 27mm bow and stern. So you always want to keep that angle so they may just, so they're able to, so if they try shooting you, you can kind of make it where they ricochet off of your side and they're not able just to citadel you through the bow and aft. So it does have good anti-air for the tier, just a little bit less than a Baltimore. The Baltimore is pretty much just going to be a standpoint for comparing the ship, but we'll switch it between different ships while we're talking, pretty much. So the reason why it has a little bit less of anti-air compared to the Baltimore is due to the fact that its close AA is a tiny bit worse. But if you're, say, dealing with tier 6 CVs, it will absolutely murder those planes. With the DFAA and its sectoring, it does a lot of damage. Now, it does do okay with tier 8 CVs. You just need to make sure with the tier 8 CVs and the tier 10 CVs, you need to make sure you're utilizing the DFAA properly, because if you're not careful, the AP bombs of the Germans, the Japanese, and the AP rockets of the Germans will just hammer this ship to the ground. So you need to make sure that when you're playing this ship, you're well aware of all of those types of bombs and rockets that are coming at you.
Concentrate fire on the
Now, as I was trying to say before, the DFAA, the best trick to using DFAA is whenever you see a pretty much like a bomber or a torpedo type of planes coming at you, you want to activate the DFAA and pop the sectoring so you get the extra sectoring bonus from the DFAA. And the DFAA and the sectoring will do a lot of extra continuous damage and put up more flat clouds to be more of a defense against incoming fire. So you definitely want to, and the thing is, as soon as those planes are gone, you want to turn off the anti-air, turn it back on, so that the DFAA starts reloading again, so that by the time another squad comes, you have another DFAA ready to go to try to counter the CV, try to mitigate as much damage as possible. So we talked about the armor, we talked about the guns, so, and the A. Let's talk about the maneuverability. So this ship has a pretty good turning radius, though it has a notably slow rudder shift time, kind of compared to as the Russian cruiser rudder shift. You want to compare it to there. But this ship is definitely an improvement over the Anchorage. So if you're looking if you're looking to say either, Dwayne, I have an Anchorage, so I want this ship, or I want to buy the Anchorage or the Rochester, which one would I get? I personally favor the Rochester over the Anchorage because I'm more used to the Baltimore line, which is kind of like, which goes down the Des Moines line, which I'm a lot more used to going down that line over how the Anchorage is played. So I'm a big fan of the Rochester over the Anchorage. You'll probably be seeing me playing the ship a lot more than the Anchorage, because I barely touched the Anchorage. I think the last time I did was for that 6-year anniversary event, just to get the free gift container. So let's move on to the concealment. Now, base, the ship does have an 11.7 kilometer base. Upgraded, it does go to 9.5, which is really good. It's only surpassed by the Russian light cruisers and the Tone. It pretty much has the same concealment as a Mogami, which is very, very strong as a tier 8 cruiser. Very, very strong indeed. It pretty much makes it where you can sneak up onto a flank, get ready to smoke up to start farming, or you can use it to get nice broadside shots onto unsuspecting cruisers. The AP is very strong on this vessel, as you'll see later on in the match. I will demonstrate that. So let's just keep moving on, because I want to make sure I get to all the points today. So let's talk about the Gazumbles. As you can see, this ship does not have a heel. It has hydro, DFA, and smoke. It does carry, now base, it carries only 2 sonars and 2 smokes with 4 DFAAs. Now and that's the reason why you have to get Superintendent. It's very, very, very important. You need to get Superintendent to make sure that you have the extra smokes to be able to be safe during a match. You don't want a round of smokes when you're needed most to be able to farm or help protect your team with the smoke. Now, if you're trying to do this with the first 10 build, I'd recommend you get Adrenaline Rush first, then do the Concealment, and then do the Close Quarters and Superintendent. But usually, it's either your choice to do Adrenaline Rush or Superintendent, but this ship is definitely going to take damage, and Superintendent will just help you do your farming, and Adrenaline Rush will also help you have a higher DPM. So it's more of a personal choice if you want the higher DPM as you're taking damage, or you want the extra smokes. But in my personal preference, I would take the Superintendent first and then go for the Adrenaline Rush later. So let's talk about my overall impressions of this ship. Overall, for 11,300 doubloons, I think that this is a very good tier 8 smoke cruiser. It does have a heavy damage farming reliability farming cruiser, pretty much, who relies on smoke positioning compared to other cutting cruisers. Now, yes, you are able to play near islands like a Baltimore, or you can also do a lot more open watering if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous, per se. More adventurous. You have a lot more versatility with the smoke rather than the Baltimore, which didn't have the smoke. Now, this ship will absolutely dominate in tier 6 to 8 matches and smaller matches, as you can see here. I absolutely dominated in this match. It was so much fun to play this match. I had a ball the whole time. Now, it will struggle in tier 10 matches and larger matches, where larger maps where the ships can outrange you and kind of sit really far back. Now, this ship does need DDs to help spottings to be able to use the smoke capability fully. So being in a div or just being on the side with a reliable DD is very important. And again, this ship does have 27mm bow and aft, so it makes it where if you're outside the smoke, 15-inch guns and below aren't going to be able to pin, while 16 above can. So you definitely have to make sure you know which ships can just clap you or go through and citadel you through the bow or in aft, and which ones can't. Now, recommendations. Now, I would recommend this ship for randoms for sure. It's a solid damage farming cruiser. Now, for ranked, I wouldn't really recommend this ship for ranked because you really need that radar capability for ranked. So I wouldn't really recommend that for that. For co-op, it would definitely be a fun ship. It does have 6.9 kilometers secondaries, be kind of memey, kind of fun to use, of course. But I would recommend the Baltimore or Congress for ranked if you are looking for a American cruiser for that along the lines. Now, I would not recommend this ship for possible tier 8 CBs. It would do fairly poor against Kievs, which are on the same tier, and it doesn't really offer too much utility. It does have a sonar that's 5 kilometers for spotting players and 3.5 for spotting torpedoes, but it doesn't really offer anything other than that. So it doesn't really offer like a good radar or any sort of spotting, so it doesn't really offer too much utility. Now, just a few tips and tricks, and if you guys have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments down below. I would definitely appreciate if you do, because if you're asking a question, then someone else is most likely gonna wanting to know the same thing. So definitely leave a question down below if anything I've said has confused you at all. So when you're in the smoke, as you saw me do earlier, definitely make sure you're angled in the smoke. Never sit broadside in a smoke. Use those gun angles to your advantage. And again, if you're angled in the smoke at a really strong angle like I was able to easily dodge the torpedoes, which is very important to be able to do. You need to be able to dodge those torpedoes. You don't want to get popped out of the smoke because you're at the wrong angle. You need to be able to move. That's why you sit at a smoke in angle to where you know a DD or ships will be coming from. Moving around in smoke is definitely very important. Just sitting still. BBs love to shoot at cruisers that are in smoke, especially smoked up cruisers, because usually they're very squishy and they always give a lot of tasty damage while they're just sitting in smoke. So always be moving around randomly in the smoke, back or forth, turning a little bit, just so that you're not sitting perfectly still. Now, against 15-inch guns and smaller guns for BBs or cruisers, Rochester can angle and bounce the AP very well. You don't have to pop a smoke for those. You can literally just sit bow into them, be a little bit angled. It has a lot of armor to be able to stand that. But if it's 16-inch or above, I'd highly recommend you pop that smoke and you just start farming away. Now, this ship can play open water, as I said earlier, with the smoke, but islands are still very useful to help conserve the smoke as well. Since if there's no islands available, you have the smoke to be able to open fire and do as you wish. Now, again, the smoke firing penalty is 6.8 kilometers, So it's highly recommended you avoid close combat while you're trying to use smoke. Because if you get spotted while you're in smoke and you shoot, like pretty much if you get spotted in smoke and you don't have any spotting where anyone is, you're pretty much blind while they're able to shoot you. So definitely be careful of that. And again, be wary of all radars, especially Russian radars. There is a new recent tier 8 battleship called the Borodino from the Russians. A lot of people don't know about that. It does have a 12-kilometer radar, and so do mostly all of the Russian cruisers. Any Russian cruiser radar has a 12-kilometer radar, or battleship does. Like the Borodino's the only one that does currently, but highly recommended. Watch out for all radars. The 12-kilometer radars will definitely pummel you if you're not careful. The Americans have the 8-kilometer, so definitely watch out for the radars. If you're not careful, it will definitely come back to bite you. So let's look at the score from this match. So from this match, I got 126,000 damage, 2 kills, 9 fires, 4 citadels. I did a really good job dodging holding my flank and moving around the map. It was very, very well done indeed. And 126,000 for a tier 8 match, I'd say that's a pretty good match. And look at this. We were top of the team with 2,218 points. Very well done match. We did a really good job holding off the flank, making sure they didn't push. We weren't overly aggressive, as you saw. We went into the cap area. We kind of turned out, started backing in. Once we were spotted, we smoked up and started farming away. And we had very good communication with our team, which led us to win the match. But yep, that is all for today. Again, if you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely leave them down in the comments below. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I do thank you all for your support of the channel. It's definitely been amazing, the growth we've been seeing. So thank you all for being here. But again, I'd highly recommend this ship for randoms. For the price tag of 11,300 doubloons. I think if you enjoyed the Baltimore and you want something a little bit different than the Anchorage, I definitely recommend the Rochester. Definitely would recommend it. But thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.